Hey, hey, it's me once again. Just when you thought it was safe, I'm back. More news, more trouble, more irritation. You never thought that one day could go on forever, but it is. And here I am, the man from Indicron, here to tell you that I'm bringing some very interesting news. News that perhaps some of you may already know, and the rest of you don't want to know. But it's an SJW psych eval. And with me today, my special guest is an actual psychologist from Canada. And her name is Stephanie, or for other people, psychological nerd. Hey, Steph.
Hey, what's up? Happy to be here.
You have a very tough icon.
Mm-hmm.
Psychologically, I would say. You would be a strong, tough woman, are you?
I try to be. Sometimes I fake it, but we all have our weaknesses.
Non, je pense que vous êtes incroyable.
Well, thank you very much.
So for those who don't speak French, that means I think she's pretty incredible. Yeah, she seems pretty interesting. And she's here to help us psychologically evaluate the SJW phenomena.
Mm-hmm. Our blue-haired neighbors.
Well, I think, yeah, they are neighbors. But I think there's more of them on your side, on your part of the continent.
Yep. Unfortunately, it has swept the nation. Or
thrilling.
Canada.
And with me, as usual, is, and dare I say his name, the doctor.
Hey, everybody. The doctor is in. It's time to begin.
Dr. Kirby Enthusiasm, you sound far too happy to be here.
Oh, damn. I have to do something about that. Sorry.
DJ in the chat says, good French, JLM. Well, it better be good French, or my mother will rise up from the grave and smack my face. Ouch. I think she already did. Oh, well. I saw something very interesting today, Doctor, if you could bring it up on your window before we move into our psych eval. Something very interesting happened today. Oh, Terry's in the chat. And he says, I love her voice. Stephanie, I think you're a hit already.
You love my voice?
The Canadien?
The wine?
The wine? Give us your best Canadien, mon petit.
Ouais, fait que là, tantôt j'ai été à l'épicerie, puis c'est ça.
Oh, Whoa. When you said pui, my entire liver shriveled.
We're like Canada's rednecks.
What's that?
We're pretty much Canada's rednecks.
Yeah. I feel it. I feel it in the base of my spine.
Yeah.
But we'll get back to that joyful intonations of get the Canadian love fest in a moment. But something very interesting happened today, and I wanted to thank Ethan for that, and Edwin Boyette, because I'm a Christian. I'm a very devout Christian, and so is Steph, aren't you, Steph?
Mm-hmm. Yep, for 7 years now.
And we take a lot of pride in our devotion, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very important. And I notice that sometimes, though, the trials and tribulations of normal life sometimes help us forget. They make us forget about our faith and our devotion. And something here that Ethan posted, this is a photo that he took of him holding his cross. And he said, I'm wearing my cross tonight out of respect for Edwin Boyette. I hope your home has found peace, my friend. And that really touched me. It truly did. And I don't see that very often. So what I did was, if you scroll down, Doctor, I posted mine as well, which I always thought was rather a unique combination of a cross, that's it right there, a cross and a crucifix. Well, I mean, not crucifix, yes, cross, yes, but also a rosary where you can do your Hail Marys. Do you do Hail Marys, Steph?
No, I'm a Baptist Christian.
Oh,
Pretty sure
okay.
more of a Catholic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a Protestant.
Oh, okay. I'm going to ignore that.
Calvinist.
So
Well, is
I
there a
posted
difference?
this. They gave me this in the orphanage when I was in a Christian orphanage,
Okay.
and they gave me this, and I've had this my entire life. Still works. Still keeps time. Still keeps on ticking. And if you'll scroll down, Doctor, let's keep scrolling. You'll see that other people started posting their rosaries. I don't know what this person's doing. Go past that person.
Oh,
I don't know what that person's doing. Go past that person. Don't know. Okay, here we go. This individual right here. No, go back up a little. Doctor, going back up me. There you go. Lord Brannerley. Now I want to thank this individual for touching my heart and bringing to me a moment of peace, because that's what he did with this crucifixion. And I find it really beautiful in life when Christians can reach out, even through the internet, and give each other a moment of solace and recognition for what we believe in, and we believe in Christ. And I want to thank him for that. So that aside, I also want to thank Ethan and Edwin. So that aside, we're going to go over the phenomena of SJWs in modern society, and at least some portion of it, of where it sprang from. I realize Canada is now probably inundated and drowning in SJWs. Is that true, Steph?
Unfortunately, yes. You know, ever since, I mean, I think it's been like that for a while, but ever since Trudeau is in office, you know, he's a very out and proud liberal, and it's kind of funny because where I live, you know, I come from a small town, and we have, I don't know why, but it feels like this town has more like conservative values. And so when he came to our town, like people destroyed him, and then he just called us, he called this woman racist for asking him why he was bringing in illegal immigrants. And then he just like went off on her, and he said, the Canadian people's intolerance of immigrants is disgusting. And like he was essentially calling us racist for not wanting illegal immigrants, you know, in our country.
How long are you guys going to put up with that? I'm trying to find a choice word for this bastard. Oops, I guess I just did, sorry.
I don't know. I don't know why people voted for him, honestly.
Because he knows how to comb his hair.
Yeah, he has a nice little booty, but you know, that's about it.
Oh, merde. Okay, j'ai mal aux têtes maintenant. Very true, very true. So this SJW phenomena, I recognize this from perhaps a decade ago. I called them other things. I called them robots. And I noticed that they had certain types of traits. I called them opposite machines because they were constantly debating with me. No matter what it was, they were oppositional to me. Now, what do you call a person who's constantly oppositional?
A pain.
Pessimist, or I forget the word escapes me, but like someone who's always on the edge and always needs to fight with people.
Someone who is fixated on conflict, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
Because I always saw that they were maneuvering themselves to be oppositional to me, no matter what it was that I said. And if I took their position, they would immediately become oppositional to that position.
That's a trait of narcissism.
Yeah. Yeah, they just want to be right no matter what. It doesn't matter what they believe in, they just want to be right.
So they just want to be right even if they're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have to be right, you have to be wrong, but if they're wrong, as long as they're the opposite of you, they're winning.
Yep. Well, in their minds, I think that's what they believe.
But isn't it the desire for opposition coming from a deep-rooted self-hatred?
Usually.
Yeah. I do think that everything they do is because they hate themselves and they hate their lives, and so by focusing on what's happening around them, then they're not looking at what they can improve, in their own lives. Because again, they hate themselves. So, if you hate yourself, why are you gonna help your life get better?
So what generationally, when you look at these aspects and you realize that there's this entire group of people that have so much self-hatred, what do you think psychologically created this self-hatred? I mean, looking back on it, because I think at least I've been living with these SJWs before they were called SJWs. I just called them other things, usually much more violent words or crass words or French words. But why do you think there are so many people that have so much self-hatred?
I think it had to start with them losing the ability to think for themselves. So, they ride the waves, they don't analyze anything around them, and eventually they just take whatever the media feeds them and they take that as fact. And I think that's at least part of the reason they act this way. They've become intellectually lazy. And when you're lazy, you're not caring for yourself. It's like if you stay in your house and you don't pick up anything, or you don't wash your clothes, you don't wash your hair, obviously you don't like yourself, you don't... How can I... Wait.
Do you want to say it you can say it in French if you want.
No, it's just like, how do I explain... Well, anyways, you can go.
They have an inability to identify who they are and how to care for themselves, because they have yet to pit themselves against an adversary that would enable them to prove or to create their own identity, right? Because if you look previously, you had World War II, you had men and women who came out of World War II, and they went on the GI Bill, they learned a trade, they became journeymen, they became very confident in life, they created the middle... what do you call that in America? Middle class, right? Home buyers, and this goes on and on. But afterwards, and various other types of, we have war in various countries and things like that. But afterwards, didn't a life in America become too easy?
Yep. Yeah, that's why life made them become lazy in all aspects of their lives, especially intellectually, and like they can't logically analyze anything. They have to be told what to do, what to say, what to think.
Well, they haven't had to.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's kind of what I think what he's getting at is that, because of convenience and contrivance, everything's become so easy that they didn't have to. Everything was kind of handed to them and given to them. You don't have to go to the well and work the lever and get water. You just turn the faucet on.
So what would be the psychological phenomena of an individual who is at a loss of identity, who has failed to create for themselves? There's an escalation in identity and personality as one grows older, various stages that one goes through. Well, it would mean
that they haven't fulfilled, self-actualization.
Well, self-actualization in certain terms means nirvana. It means the opening of consciousness. So I'm not necessarily referring to something that far forward, but when you're a teenager and you move through your teenage years, you're seeking to create an identity for yourself, right?
Yeah. But you kind of become a chameleon, and I see it how I acted when I was, when I was younger. You just kind of take on the personality of what people want you to be or what you think is cool. You see Avril Lavigne as a kid on TV, you're like, oh, that's so cool. I'm going to start skateboarding and wearing like dark eye makeup. But like, is that really you? I don't think it is. I think people have become really good at being chameleons.
Well, because they want to be accepted.
Yeah.
And so to a portion, that's what's happening here. They want to be accepted, but they have no war to fight for. So to me, it seems like SJWs have created this sense of opposition in order to validate and to know themselves.
Yeah, but they're not willing to do the work. That's the thing. Like they fight, but they don't want to do the work. They don't want to think for themselves. They don't want to know who they truly are. because
Well, they
it's
do it. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, but I just want to say, like, it's very hard road trying to figure out who you really are, and sometimes, you know, facing reality checks really suck.
They suck if you don't enjoy reality. Whereas I love reality, and I think the Doctor does as well. He gets his face punched in every day.
Yeah.
Don't you, Doctor?
Absolutely.
I mean, he likes the box. So
I do like the box and
it's
kickbox.
hard.
He doesn't
Yeah, it's
like
hard.
it much kickbox.
That's pretty hardcore realities.
Mm-hmm.
So these people, they're looking for some sort of dream. They're looking for something to commit themselves to in order to know who they are. And at some point, they latched onto this social justice system in which everyone who they previously idealized or previously respected, and this is cyclic, isn't it? You always have to become oppositional to what was previous. So it's not as if they're actually making choices. It's more to the fact that it's a matter of circumstance. This is what is the opposite of what came before. Would you agree, Steph?
Yep, that's true. I mean, they're trying they're trying to pinpoint, like, the fault on someone, but like for how the world is, but they see fault in something that's not really faulty, you know. Like, oh, we live in a patriarchal system. But
Well, they're exacerbating a conflict that was there for someone else and not them. And they want to pretend that, like, and this is the first time it's ever been done, when this has been done in pretty much every civility. I mean, it was, you know, I mean, that's the reason why the scrolls were lost. That's the reason why Rome fell. That's the reason. I mean, this has been done in history forever. It's cyclical, not progressive.
yeah.
Steph, I want to ask you, do you have a website, or what is it that you basically work from? Do you have a YouTube channel? You do have a YouTube channel. I know that, right?
Yeah, I have a YouTube.
Okay. Do you want to put the YouTube in the chat so that people can go to it? Not right now, mind you, but in the future.
Oh yeah, I can go do that slowly but surely.
Okay, super. So, you know, I think that SJWs are desperately looking for, I mean, to give this all a type of historical perspective, you know, they're desperately looking for something to belong to. They're desperately looking for some sort of conflict in order to create their own senses of identity. There's no world war. There's no war. I mean, there is the war, you know, against the sheiks, so to speak. But they seem to be taking the opposite side because, again, that's the oppositional method of knowing yourself, right? Being in constant oppositional force.
Well, I mean, on the pyramid of needs, basically what we're saying is that the love and belonging stage, they didn't complete. So they can't get to esteem and self-actualization, which means, you know, if you were to break that down, basically these people don't believe in themselves. Like, and that kind of fits everything that we're saying.
Well, they had to find some way to believe in themselves. Steph?
I think the fact that they don't believe it themselves makes them kind of give up easy, and instead of blaming themselves, you know, for being weak or whatever, they just blame how the world is instead of trying to figure out a way to get better. It's like they see an obstacle, and instead of jumping over it, they're like, whatever. They turn around and they go find another road until they find an obstacle. You know, and that's why these people never feel accomplished. And I think that's part of where the self-hate comes from. They never finish anything, and they never try to even master something.
Yep, that's
why they try to bring the levels of everyone else down.
Yeah, it's very important to, when you progress, to be independent.
Yep.
And if you don't gain a sense of independence, you can't gain a sense of character. In England, we often say character is everything. And nowadays, character is nothing.
Yeah, it's true. Like, if you don't go through obstacles, then you're not going to be able to react or overcome anything that comes your way. And it's like these people, you know, try their hardest to dodge every obstacle they can instead of facing it. You know, and I think that's why there's such a big, like, increase in anxiety, and yeah.
There's also an increase in Zoloft pills. There's a big increase in pharmaceuticals.
Oh yeah, pharmaceutical companies are making so much money, and some psychologists like selling those things.
Well, I mean, they're selling it. You know, what is it? Oh God. For ADD, I mean, they're selling, you know, ADHD and ADD, like, you know, the Ritalin, the, you know, and I mean, that works on a failed principle that, like, we don't even believe anymore, but we're going to go ahead and prescribe it anyway.
Pretty much.
Yeah, Johnny5 in the chat says, living in the UK sucks. Yeah, it really does suck. That's why I left. It was a nightmare.
Really?
So, I'm sorry?
I said, really? It does suck that much?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Paris is a Holocaust scene. It's a nightmare.
Wow.
I can't barely step outside. I couldn't step outside. It was, you know, they have the yellow vests.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. It's huge. It's bloody gigantic. So they want to find something in order to know themselves. They need to create some sort of conflict. And in creating that conflict, it can't truly be a real conflict because they're too frightened of real conflict. Yes. So they're creating a facade. They're creating some sort of bloody facade where they take the most innocent of people, people they know can't fight back, you know, kind-hearted people just minding their own bloody business, and they attack them. They place labels on them in order to validate what they're doing, and they're pretty certain there's not going to be any repercussions because the people are just shocked. They're just like, what are you talking about?
What's happening?
Yeah, what's happening? Why are you saying this to me? Like, are you a mental patient? Did you escape? Yeah. C'est la merde, ça. Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? You know, it's ridiculous.
Yep.
So the person's shocked, and then they realize that this person who's, you know, timid or perhaps normal isn't going to become violent, and that gives them an easy victim, right?
Yeah, they're bullies, or they're child bullies. You know, they're schoolyard bullies.
And yet they keep talking about. So everything that they are, I've noticed this with what I used to call robots. Everything that they are, they accuse others of. What is that phenomena? What would you call that phenomena?
Well, it's another trait of narcissism.
Yeah, and it's a projection, I think the word is.
Yes, it is. It's projection. They project and scapegoat others for what they themselves are guilty of.
Yeah, because it's hard to come and, you know, figure out what's wrong with you because no one wants to see the bad sides of them, but it's easier to see it in someone else. And so they think, you know, if they call it out in someone else, then, you know, they feel better about themselves somehow.
Right. So then we're moving on to virtual signaling, right? And this is how they kind of all create this phenomena where they belong to some sort of cult or some sort of blue-haired rain people that have the right to attack. So here we have a photo of, you know, a nice young lady, and I have to be careful. I don't know how old she is. I would assume she's a younger girl, and she looks genuinely feminine. And then suddenly she looks like she escaped from a French prison. Is she wearing like French prison clothes there? I don't know. No, I don't think so. No.
True, like the straight bangs, she does look extremely French.
She does. That's why I said that. She looks like she escaped from a French prison. So they're just being the opposite of whatever the cycle was previously. They haven't invented this out of novelty or genius or anything. It's just purely oppositional.
Yeah, it's a psychosomatic transformation, a physical manifestation of, you know, their change in psyche.
But the psyche is responding to whatever was preceding them. In order to set themselves separate, they have to become the extreme of what was previously. Hence the constant contradictions. Would you agree, Steph?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So let's say, I mean, you're obviously a very beautiful woman. Let's say you were kind of like this girl here 2 years ago. do you plan on becoming what is the now photo?
No, I tried to stay away from that because, you know, my 2 years ago would look like the now, and the now is, you know, anyways, they're inverse.
Oh, so the inverse for you. Okay, well, why is that? That's very interesting. Tell me. So were you an SJW before?
Yes. Well, I didn't know.
Attends. Non, c'est pas facile comme ça. You are this is turning into an amazing show now, ladies and gentlemen. We are interviewing here on the show an SJW.
Retired.
Retired.
We did not know, but we were bringing on a trans SJW onto our show. Wow. Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming on our show, SJW. I very much appreciate it. So tell us your story of transformation.
Basically, honestly, it started because of YouTube. Like, I was slowly getting back into comics because finally my ass backwards down decided to get a comic shop, so I didn't have to drive like 4 hours to get to one, and I was super excited. I was like, yay, comics, woo. So I went there, picked up like 10 comics, you know, just where I didn't really look at anything, just picked them up. And I got home and I was like, what the heck is this? You know, and I remember like old 90s comics, you know, it didn't get the nostalgia reading the new comics. So I went on YouTube and started researching, you know, what good comics to get and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden I started getting videos from like Zach and Captain Cummings and all of these guys. And then...
Are you telling me that Comicsgate cured you of SJWism?
Yep.
No.
I'm serious.
Vraiment?
Yep, I made a video about it, I don't know, a long time ago.
Okay, everyone has to remember that they have to go and check Steph's YouTube video to see her transformation from SJW opposite NPC machine to the gorgeous, beautiful Canadien you have here.
Thank you so much. But yeah, and I was even like on Captain Cummings' show, like he interviewed me about it too. It's cool.
Veiled in the chat says, who is your new guest tonight? Well, Veiled, this is Steph, or known as Psychological Nerd. And she is a once upon a time true blue. True blue. Yes, I did hit that on the nose. True blue SJW. But here you see her before you today, a beautiful, well-adjusted, and extremely intelligent Canadien.
Well-adjusted. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Okay, I'm hoping for the best. So before, let's go back to the SJW moment of your life. So you were a full-blown SJW?
Yeah, but I didn't realize it at the time. Like,
this is so interesting. Okay, tell me.
And I think what made me an SJW was actually Tumblr. So
no, are you really
erased from existence? Oh my god! Like the SJWs on that site, it's probably 99% SJW, and it's not even like normal liberals. You know, let's say it's extreme far left. You know, almost to the point that, you know, pedophilia is a sexual orientation.
Wow.
So that's what you can find.
I'm sorry. One more time. What?
Yep, it's pretty crazy on there. But like, basically, I don't know. Because I'm a tomboy, and people at school are always like, oh, you're a tomboy, you must be a lesbian. Oh, you're a tomboy, you must. And then it kind of morphed to, as society morphed, it became, oh, you're a tomboy, so that means you're really a man inside. You were born like a guy. And I believed that crap.
You believed it? This is going to be my best show ever. I'm so grateful to you for coming on here. So you're telling me that Tumblr and the culture of Tumblr convinced you that you were actually a man inside?
Yep. And that, or even like that I was non-binary, which makes no freaking sense.
But you believed this?
Yeah, I didn't think it made sense at the time. Like, and it's kind of weird because I was studying, in psychology while that was happening. So
How did, that's amazing. I mean, that's incredibly amazing. So you were studying psychology. You were on Tumblr. They convinced you that you were in fact a man, even though you're a very beautiful woman.
Yeah, just because I was a tomboy and I like playing video games, which is so ridiculous.
Okay, so but you didn't completely think you were a man because sometimes you have to go to the lavatory.
Yeah.
Right.
Biologically, obviously, I didn't believe in all that stuff that, there's a male and female brain, or that people can be born like a different sex or whatnot. But, a part of me did believe that, maybe I was just more of a guy and that was fine, I don't know.
So did you think that your brain was male, but your body was female?
No, I never believed in that stuff. And I got a lot of heat for it on Tumblr. Like, every time I had a different opinion than them, like, I got death threats. Like, it was ridiculous. That site is cancer.
Absolutely. So, but you did think that you had very masculine tendencies, and you thought that perhaps you were a man in a woman's body. I mean, how did you perceive this?
Honestly, we were talking about how SJWs, their thoughts or their ideologies are very contradictory. And
Right.
that's kind of exactly what I believe in, because looking back at it, I knew that I kind of had, problems with weakness. I hated being weak mentally, and physically. And so I worked out a lot. Obviously,
So the compassion and sympathy, female traits, they kind of taught you to perceive this as a weakness.
Yeah, to me, relying on someone, especially if it was a guy, was like the weakest thing I could have done in my life. And that's why I was like, oh, well, I probably don't like men then. But, it's still ridiculous. It was all
So
bull.
you thought you didn't like men because they convinced you that you shouldn't rely on men.
Mm-hmm. And that, if I was able to be as strong as men, then why would I need a man,
So you were gaslit into thinking that you were lesbian?
Yep.
Wow.
I know.
And were you, I mean, we like lesbians in Comicsgate. We have nothing against lesbians.
No.
Lesbians are wonderful people. Were you a lesbian for a short period of time?
Yeah, for like a long time. Well, it's kind of weird how it happened. Like, when people are like, oh, you need to find who you are and explore your sexuality. And then it starts with, oh, I think I'm bi. And then, oh, I think I'm a lesbian. And then, oh, I think I'm non-binary. So, just how things progress.
Some people want to be an astronaut. You just,
I just want
So
to be
it was a progressive type of indoctrination where steadily but surely but steadily you began to become more and more confused and falling into these types of categories that they kept setting up for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. I started believing that stuff. And obviously, like, if you think about these things and you're not really aware and you see it, look, kind of like when you read an horoscope, it's like, today you will whatever, and then you will get a lot of money today, and then you fall on the $5 bill. You're like, oh my god, the horoscope was right. But like, it doesn't mean that, correlation.
It doesn't mean that it means something. It's coincidence or it's happenstance. You found a $5 bill, but that doesn't mean that God came to give it to you.
Yeah, exactly.
So you were going through this process and you began to think that you were non-binary.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me what non-binary really means.
Non-binary would be, it's kind of weird because it doesn't make sense. Non-binary would mean that you don't associate with male or female genders, but some days you feel female and some days you feel male. So right there, it doesn't make sense.
So is this what they mean when they say fluid? Your gender fluid?
Yeah, that's what the cool kids say now.
Okay, super. So you had finally arrived after lesbianism, first not liking men because you didn't want to be dependent on men because they taught you that this was the wrong thing to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so then you went into lesbianism. And
Yeah.
then what was the next step before non-binary or fluidity?
Well, obviously looking to gain that strength, right? That strength that I thought I didn't need from men. So obviously like bodybuilding for 7 years made
Wow.
my ego freaking huge, and so I became a massive douchebag, and that kind of reinforced the idea that that was more masculine.
I don't believe it. I don't believe you could be a douchebag.
Oh god, it was bad.
Okay. I
Like,
believe it. Are you kidding? The Canadien? Doctor, please. It's very, very possible. So this is amazing. C'est très amusant, ça. Hein? You became a male douchebag.
Yeah, in a female body.
In a female body. So when you were a male douchebag, wow, this is.
Yeah.
I respect you so much. I respect you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem.
So when you were a male douchebag and you had this beautiful female body, did you abuse yourself?
What do you mean, like working out or drinking or whatever?
I don't know. I mean, male douchebags, because it's kind of a contradiction in terms, right? A male douchebag abuses women. If you're a male douchebag and you're a woman, would you abuse yourself?
Probably. I mean, I had problems with, drinking and all that stuff. And it's kind of weird because I look down to other women too. It's like so dumb. Like, how can a feminist look down on women? Anyways.
Oh, that's so beautifully said. So so you became a male douchebag in a female body who hates women, who treat women badly, and you called yourself a feminist. Okay, this is so brilliant because I'm beginning to understand what previously was very difficult for me to comprehend. The contradictions, these intense contradictions that in which what I used to call robots, or I actually called them NPCs as well, or contradiction machines, debating machines.
Yeah.
So you set up a situation in which you're constantly debating yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Because am I a man? Am I a woman? Am I non-binary? Am I a woman today? Am I a man tomorrow?
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
So describe to me at what point, like as you became gender fluid, what would your day be like when you were trying to navigate these identities?
Well, it's kind of weird because I told myself I was non-binary because obviously I had a female body. The logical part of me knew that, but the other part of me was like, well, you're a tomboy, so obviously, I mean, you got some male parts in your brain or something. Well, maybe not male parts in my brain, but not
those parts in your brain, I hope. No, not those male parts.
My brain was like, you identify more as a man, but you're a woman, so that means non-binary, right? Again, which makes no sense.
This almost sounds like Victorian, the womb went to the brain.
Doctor, could you take your screen off of snakes and whatever the bloody hell that is and put it on anything else, please? Okay. So can you describe to me the difficulties that this would ensue during the course of your day?
Well, okay. So obviously I dress like a guy, like a typical lesbian. Flannel shirts, caps and stuff, and I had shaved my hair and I would cut it myself. So
we call that grunge in America,
That's what it is. And I don't know, like I would go out and I would see people like looking at me like, is that a dude or a girl? And I would often get called like young man. And I was like, what the fuck? I have boobies. But
okay, let me ask you a question though. If you identified as a man and someone said to you, young man,
and
why? Why? If you're identifying as a man, why get angry that someone sees you as a man?
I have no idea.
Again, it's the contradiction machine. It's the debating machine.
It's like I want to act a certain, different than what people are, but I also don't like when people notice that I'm different,
Well, isn't that the whole assumption thing? Did you assume my gender?
Exactly.
I'm a Z, they're a they, not a they.
I'm a Z, Zai, Fu, Fam, whatever.
That's right.
Okay, so you navigated your way through life, and you were very angry, and you treated women badly, and you treated yourself badly. At what point did this begin to evolve out of the confusion and the oppositional forces and energy of gender fluidity?
What do you mean? Like
Well, how did you start to begin to move away from being identified as a male brain in a female body? When did this separation stop being the most dominant force in your identity?
it happened just a random night. I was reading my Bible and stuff, and then obviously I knew that what I was doing was not the best thing for me, but I kind of didn't want to, or maybe God knew I just wasn't ready to face all of those things. But one night he was like, Steph, this isn't you, this is bullcrap, and you know it. And then I kind of broke down and I was like, oh my God, you're right. What the heck have I been doing with my life?
Who said this to you? Who said this to you?
Oh, I mean, I was reading my Bible and I felt that God told me that it was bullcrap, and I was like, oh.
Wow. Hold on a minute. We can't just gloss over on that. Hold on a minute. That's
Yeah.
that's biblical. You're telling me you were reading your Bible and God came to you and told you with his loving heart, he touched you and he said to you, what are you doing, my child? What are you doing to yourself?
Yeah, exactly. And then it felt like a punch in the gut. I was like, have I believed this stupid lie for 15 years? And I just felt like crap. And then God was like, calm down, relax, take it one day at a time. And then that's what I did. And that's how I changed. I took it one day at a time. The first thing I did was God was like, you know what? Let your hair grow. And I was like, you know what? That's a great idea. Because I renounced my femininity when when all of this started, when I started working out and becoming a male douchebag, I took every ounce of femininity I had and I just erased it completely. I wanted nothing to do with it. And obviously to change back to who I'm supposed to be, who God made me to be, then I needed to get that back. And for me, the first step obviously was my hair. So I let my hair grow, and that instantly changes a person's look.
Absolutely. And so God gave you the strength to face I mean, he came into your heart and he filled it with virtue and gave you the strength to move beyond the confusion.
Yeah, and I knew it was him. When he talks to you, it's so powerful. It's like, oh my God. I don't know how to explain it. It's just
no pun intended, but yes.
Yeah,
oh my God.
It's really powerful. I don't know.
It's
it was
very
really
powerful. Yeah.
It was really great. And it's like he realized at that moment that I was ready, at that exact second. So cool.
I'm so proud of you, and I respect you so much for telling me this story. And that's what I was saying with the cross today. That when Ethan showed that cross and then other people did, I felt God well up in my heart, and fill me with this sense of forgiveness and life. And I felt myself crying. It was so overwhelming.
Yeah.
Is that how you
felt? Yeah. Oh yeah. I cried a lot, all night. And then I woke up and I talked about it with my parents because they're Christian too,
Mm-hmm.
I just cried the whole day. I felt it's kind of weird because I knew what the truth was now, but at the same time I didn't know who I was because who I wasn't real, It was just like I was saying earlier, I was a chameleon. I just adapted to what I heard and saw.
Wow.
And so really hard. Like for a week, I felt so depressed. But God was there, and I was like, you know what? We're gonna do this together.
Exactement. Yeah.
Mm.
C'est incroyable. Beautiful.
Yeah, you felt the
that's
struggle.
That's like a beautiful, beautiful moment in your life. And so you decided to grow out your hair.
Yeah.
And you immediately started feeling what?
Well, more feminine, obviously, and like this was the right thing to do. And I kind of felt like, you know, the short hair and the clothes I would wear, the caps and all that stuff, you know, it was kind of like a costume. And by letting my hair grow, you know, I was kind of becoming myself again.
Right. I like that when you say like a costume. So the SJWs in your culture around you, in the Tumblr culture and all these things, they kind of made you into a caricature.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you played this role, even though it was confusing. You played this character for how long?
Oh, man. Like since high school, so maybe since 15, 16. And now I'm 27, and that happened like 3 years ago, so the whole change.
9 years.
Yeah.
That's really impressive. That's really impressive. So you grew your hair, you started dressing differently, did you?
Yep. I like threw away all my guy clothes, and the stuff that would fit my dad I gave him.
You gave
like,
you gave your father the masculine douche clothes?
Well, it's just guy clothes.
The douchebag clothes? You gave your father
Maybe
the
he looks
douchebag
really
clothes.
good in them, you know?
Yeah, because my dad and I were like the same height, and we both did lots of bodybuilding, so
Wow.
we gave
You
all
must,
of that.
yeah. You must have been a very big douchebag.
Oh yeah, the biggest.
Okay. And so when you were a douchebag though, did you have douchebag friends as well?
Did I?
I don't know. Did you?
Uh,
Was there a sense of belonging in the SJW community?
It's kind of weird because like all my best friends from high school, they're all guys, but they're all the sweetest guys I've ever met in my entire life, and they're still my friends. I never had douchebag friends. I was the douchebag friend. Oh my god.
You were the douchebag friend.
You were the douchebag.
I was the douchebag friend.
That's the revelation, right? That you were the douchebag friend. Johnny5 in the chat says, Jean, tell her that God has some amazing plans for her. Well, I certainly hope so.
Oh, yeah.
I can't speak for God, but I would think that he probably does. And Johnny says, her testimony is going to save so many others going through the same problem. I mean, that's very true. How do you feel about that? Yeah. Telling your story. How do you feel?
Yeah, I really do like want to help people. And sometimes I go on like Reddit Christian stuff, and I've talked to a lot of people who are going through the same things and helping them with them. But like, I don't know. I feel like I want to take, how do I explain this? Every person who goes through the same things and are like in the very beginning stages of where I was, I just want to like tell them to not do it. But like, I know that I can't really tell them, you know, I can only love them. And one day they'll come to the realization, which I did. But then again, if they don't know God, it's hard to.
Yeah, but that's why it's so important to when you tell your story that there's specific points, you know, that people have to recognize and relate to in their own lives. And we've touched on some of those, you know, when you're being manipulated by other people, like through Tumblr, online, right? What would you say were some of the biggest manipulators at the beginning?
I don't know. I would think the sheer amount of people who believe in the same thing, it's like, you know, you think, oh, it must be true if all those people, you know, have been in that movement for a while, you know, they know what's true or not. I'll just believe them. It's kind of like we become naive, kind of like children, you know, we become gullible in a sense.
Right. Yeah. And you're looking, Doctor, are you typing?
No.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, it's me. I'm kind of sketching at the same time.
No worries. So you wanted to belong, right? And so when people were telling you this, a lot of people were telling you this, you believed them.
Yeah.
But the question is, why did you believe them?
Well, I guess the coincidence that what they were saying was but was it really aligning with who I thought I was, but not really who I was, because I didn't know who I was. So what they were saying spoke to the person I thought I wanted to be, you know?
And you thought you wanted to be this because there were other people like this, so it made sense, and you would have friends. Is that how it works?
I was not sure about the friend part, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I really had trouble making friends, but like, I always needed people to like me, you know?
Okay.
Like,
You
I
wanted a
always,
sense of belonging.
yeah, kind of like being in the part of a group, part of.
Mm-hmm.
I guess even like the gay community and all that, you know, they feel safe because they're part of a group. But then if you don't associate with something specifically, then you know you're not part of anything. And I think every human tries to fulfill that part of their lives, kind of.
So they managed to sway you because you were confused, and they gave you explanations that kind of fit into what happens in your life and what happens in everyone's life when they're younger and they're at that point in their lives, right?
Yeah, you're trying to figure out who you are, and who you want to be isn't really, you know, really you, but you still believe all that crap.
Right. I see. I understand.
You want
Yeah.
an explanation, kind of.
Right. Yeah, you want an explanation. And it's great to get to an explanation. It's just dangerous when you get the wrong one.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you believe it.
Yeah, obviously, if you haven't thought about it enough, then you're gonna believe. Well, the thing is, you know, they tell you that you have to explore those feelings, but really they're just bringing you to believe you have those feelings, you know. I don't
Yeah,
think
they're
it's real.
telling you to explore something that really you shouldn't be exploring. You didn't need to explore being a lesbian, did you?
It's kind of not really something that, you know, how do I explain this? It's not who I was anyways, but they made me believe it was who I was, you know.
Mm-hmm. And so you had to go through the process in order to understand that you weren't?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. And then when you decided to give your father all your male douchebag clothes, which I'm sure he was very grateful for, what did you do then? How did you proceed then?
Well, after the clothes, obviously I would buy more female clothes. Like, you know, every time I would go, my mom freaking loves shopping, and I hate it because you're standing
Because
looking at.
you're a male douchebag. Of course you're going to hate shopping. I hate shopping as well. And I'm a male douchebag.
But
You
I
were
still
sitting
hate
out
it.
on the bench waiting for your girl to get out of the shop, weren't you?
Pretty much. And I still hate shopping though, because, you know, standing around looking at clothes is just so dumb. But anyways, now what I do is just I look at something, I'm like, you know, I know what I want to get before I go there, so I don't have to waste any time. And I hate like being in line and people all around me. You know? So
No, I think everyone hates those sort of things. But you went out and you bought more feminine clothes, right?
yeah.
And so, and then you went into society dressed in a more feminine manner. And how do you feel they responded to you? How do you feel you responded to your life that way?
I was like, oh my god, men are looking at me. And like it wasn't like, hey, what the heck is our gender kind of looking, you know?
Right.
It was smiling at me, and I was like, oh my god, I must look good today. And it was weird because at the same time I was like, oh god, that's so gay. Like, why am I acting like such a girl? But at the same time it felt good, you know, it felt really good to have regained my femininity back, and for people to have realized it too, you know.
It must have felt really good to be beautiful again.
Exactly. And not only beautiful, you know, physically, I felt, you know, mended, you know, mentally.
Spiritually beautiful as well again.
Mm.
So in other words, made whole in one piece, pulled back together.
Oh yeah, God like took all these like puzzle pieces that wouldn't fit together, and he was like, one day at a time we'll do one puzzle piece, and if it takes a month, it takes a month, and
Right, it doesn't matter how long it takes. What matters is that you get it done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in the world, you're beautiful, and people are noticing that you're beautiful, and it feels good. You're happy, right? Were you feeling happy?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what happened?
And then, slowly but surely, I stopped having thoughts of, just thinking that I liked women, and God was like, maybe you didn't want to be with a man because you tried so hard to be one, and because you believed you were one. Well, you also believe you like women, because men like women. And
Absolutely.
so then I just realized, maybe I wasn't really a lesbian, and that was just a symptom of, my whole male douchebag experience.
It was a symptom of your male douchebag experience. Wow. I've never heard a woman say that before. This is the first time. Doctor, has a woman ever said to you, that was a symptom of my male douchebag experience?
No.
No.
I did date a gender fluid girl once. She was always a girl when I dated her.
Leave it to the doctor to break the virtue of every moment with some heinous madness from his own life. Okay, so let's get back to the important stuff, Steph. So you're feeling great, and suddenly you feel as if God is telling you, men are okay.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of learned to love men again, even though, as I said, my closest friends were men and I loved them. But kind of loving them even for their masculinity and even for their little douchebag moments, I love them even more for that, because I was like, you know what? I understand you.
So, wow. So being a male douchebag for a little while, it gave you a kind of appreciation of what male douchebags go through.
Mm-hmm. Kind of, yeah.
Well, it's interesting. You have multiple perspectives on the situation. So how would you say it's evolved since then? Are you in a male-female relationship?
Well, I'm not seeing anyone right now, but obviously I want to get married to a man and have kids and all that good stuff.
You do?
I want to have kids. Oh my God. Something that I hated when I was a male douchebag.
Yes, that's exactly why I'm asking why. I'm like, oh, right. I thought that would be something you really didn't want to do. But yes, and now you've made a complete 180 and you would like to have children, or are you thinking about it, or are you more enthusiastic?
Oh yeah, I definitely want children. I kind of realized as well, while getting my femininity back, that children, are a miracle. They're the product of love between a man and a woman. And if you don't want if you don't want a child, then do you really have that love,
That's true.
And children are just so beautiful. Like all my cousins have like 2-year-olds, and it's the cutest thing ever. And I love hanging with them. So all of that too kind of solidified the fact that, what, children are a good thing.
Children are a beautiful thing. They're absolutely beautiful. And
do you have your wedding planned out?
Nah. Ugh, no.
No, she needs a boyfriend and a husband first, doctor. And I haven't flown to Canada yet. So everyone hold on.
Yeah, I don't know.
First one loves. Thank you.
Can we have a wedding in a backyard somewhere outside with no dress? Well, I'll wear a dress, but not a poofy dress, because that's
no dress or clothes.
No, just like a small, not like the poofy wedding dresses, but like a normal dress,
Like a nice summer dress.
Yeah, because poofy dresses are beneath me.
You don't want to look like a cupcake. You're not a pastry.
Well, no, darling, I just want to tell you, we can have any type of wedding you want. Don't worry. I love backyards. Backyards are great. As long as you're What?
Wrestling weddings.
Do you want a wrestling wedding?
Wait, are you going to suplex him? Because I want to see this.
Oh my God, yes. Yes.
Oh my God, yes.
I could suplex, and then you could like power bomb me, but like on pillows.
That just sounds wrong.
This actually sounds fantastic. Doctor, you don't know what you're. Stop it! You don't know what you're talking about. You're ruining my good time.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I think power bombing is an excellent idea, and I'm very skilled at such things.
So is that like foreplay? I mean,
Doctor, that's none of your business. That's our nuptials. So, I think it's fantastic. I mean, it's brilliant. It's such a beautiful story. And how have your parents reacted to all this? They must be shocked, happy. They must be going through every emotion on the planet.
They're extremely happy. And even though like before, my parents were always nice to me. I mean, they were really supportive. Whatever I chose, they were always like, we'll love you no matter what. And if this is not God's will for you, then He'll tell you. They're really, I don't know. I'm blessed with like the best parents on this planet. And when I told them like all of this stuff, they were super happy. And my mom was like the happiest, I think. She was like practically planning my wedding day one.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love this story. Johnny5 in the chat says, psychological nerd, you're welcome. Your story is very similar to mine, and I would love to keep in touch on Twitter.
Yeah, I was just gonna reply to them what their Twitter handle was, so I can follow them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are very interested in your story. So aside from having wonderful children and getting married, is there anything else that you plan for the future, that you think that this metamorphization, this change in your life now, has it changed your goals as well?
I think so, yeah, because I realized, before I was like, oh, I need a job that fulfills me. Like I need a job that's physical. I want to be a cop, and then I was like, oh no, I'm gonna go into the military.
Oh.
And yeah, and even like I filled out all the things. I did their physical training. And
what could be worse than the Canadian military? Wow.
Oh, God, I know. What was I thinking?
That's completely insane.
Like, what the heck will we do? I don't know. Anyways, eat poutine like with our rifles. Anyway.
Yeah,
Canada has an army?
Yes, of course they have an army, but they're trapped in the snow with mooses.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the Mounties. Okay.
No, not the Mounties. We have an actual army, but
Wow.
Yeah. So in the past, you were thinking of joining the army, and so how did these things evolve as you evolved? Your goals?
I kind of realized that maybe I was not made to do stuff like that, and that perhaps I would be, even though like the job that I do, it's I'm a supervisor like for payroll and invoicing. Obviously it's a desk job, and I've realized that my job is not going to bring me fulfillment or happiness in my life. Raising a family is, and that's why I want a job that I can like easily leave, so that when I do have kids, I can give them my full attention.
Well, that makes sense. So is that your focus now then?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not like, hunting Tinder for people. I mean,
no, that's not how you're going to find a husband, darling. You're going to find a husband in a strange situation that you never thought would happen, like on a stream, or maybe someone on Twitter. You never know.
Be red-faced with a tear, possibly
he could
like Sean Connery.
Could look a lot like Sean Connery and come from Europe. You don't know. These things are very strange.
Exactly. God, has already have it planned. So whatever. All I have to do is just continue to love Him, people around me, and don't have to worry about that stuff.
Well, I find it very interesting that I decided to start this stream with a crucifixion cross.
I know. God was like, yep, you're talking about me tonight, boys and girls.
Yeah. And then I asked you if you were a Christian. How did I know this?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I post a lot of stuff, like quotes on Twitter, but
No, I didn't see that stuff.
we never talked about it.
No, we never discussed any of it. Very strange, and yet interesting. Kyle's in the chat. Hey, Kyle. Kyle Ritter. He says, nice muscle. I've been told not to mess with a muscle woman. Oh, okay. No, don't mess with my fiance there, Kyle. You're going to be in big trouble. Okay. And so your job right now is just basically something, I mean, as you perceive your future, now that you've retrieved your femininity and your parents are, overjoyed, and God is back in your life, and you're working at a job like most people work at jobs and trying to find a way to raise a family, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow, that's just an absolutely beautiful story, I have to say. And I'm so grateful to you for coming on, because so much of today I was thinking about this today. I was thinking about how do people get so entrenched in the madness of it, and how they get lost, and your story, your experience could mean a lot to save a lot of people from pain. Because would you say the process you went through was difficult?
Oh yeah, it sucked. It was the worst thing, and I had like lots of problem with anxiety, obviously depression, and I drank a lot when I was in university because I just couldn't sleep. And I know that, like, even working out, obviously working out a bit is healthy, but it can become an obsession. And if you think about it, working out, you love the pain that you get when you're sore. Whatever people say, you love that pain, and you love the pain when you're working out. And I think it's a way to cope with, those emotions of, hating yourself, not liking who you are. And I think that's why I was working out a lot too, because I didn't like my body. I hated it. I was like, why do I need to have all these boobs?
Oh my God.
Why must I have these?
Like, why can't I have like a straight shape and not stupid hips and just look really hot in clothes, and I just want like freaking abs? Oh. But like, I don't know. Then I realized.
So you got so confused. You got so confused that you misidentified with your gender, and then you began to hate your body.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I hated my body a lot.
So is that the major point of hatred that SJWs have, because they're trapped in this body that they've been taught or confused into thinking that they hate?
I think so. That's why the whole like body positivity movement is gaining a lot of ground.
Body augmentation?
No, like, that being fat is okay. Like extremely overweight is fine.
Oh, yeah. All that it's ended. Yeah, now they're stretching that out to be even pedophiles, which is horrible.
Ugh.
We're not going there right now, Doctor, on that, please. So did the hatred stem to other things other than your body when you were in that situation?
Other than, I think I just hated myself more than anything. Like, I didn't really hate other people. Obviously, I had a hatred for masculinity because I couldn't achieve what they could achieve, obviously, because women and men are very different.
That's very interesting. Yeah. So you hated men because were you jealous of men because you wanted to be able to achieve the level of masculinity?
Yeah, kind of. Exactly. Like, I would see pictures of, guys with like their awesome, like muscular waists and stuff. And I was like, why do I need hips? I don't want hips or wide hips. But wide hips is a sign of femininity because it's a sign that we give birth.
Absolutely. It's a genetic sign of the ability to give birth. And so it's very interesting that the hatred is being cast onto men because you want what they have, because you're confused into thinking you should be a man. Why don't you have a man's body?
Yeah.
And so you covet what other people have. But did that ever turn into a type of attack on them? Because like if you look at Brie Larson in the Marvel movie or various other so-called feminists, they attack men.
Yeah.
Did you ever do that?
Did I attack men? Not
Did you ever just go up and just, you know, flat sucker punch a guy?
no.
No, but what I'm saying is not physically attack them, but did your hatred of them ever rise so much in your heart that you would verbally abuse them, or you would talk poorly about them, or dislike them to such a degree? Because you were saying you didn't like those douchebags.
Oh yeah, obviously, like on Twitter, you know, I would follow everyone that said that. Every time there was something like, you know, it's kind of funny because, you know, I'm defending, you know, Vic Mignogna. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Oh yeah, we saw that. Yeah.
So back then, obviously, if a guy was accused of rape, then I was always on the women's side and attacking the men of being disgusting, and, you know, women can't lie about this. If she said he did, then he did it. That kind of mentality.
Okay, so that's why they do that. That's why they say there's no proof. You don't need proof, right? It's, if a woman says it, believe her. Yeah. Believe women. And the reason for this is straight from, I want to hear it straight from you. What is the reasoning from a former SJW, from a former lesbian and gender fluid person? What is the reason for male hatred and the reason why they push the propaganda of believe women without evidence?
Because they hate men, so they have to destroy everything about them. But hating men means that they think they're superior, and because they're superior, then they obviously wouldn't lie about something like that, you know.
Exactly.
It's the superiority of, you know, women thinking they're better than men in every aspect, which is completely false. Because, you know, we're both created equal, just differently. You know, we just have different roles. Or
absolutely different roles, and it's very important to recognize those roles, or we don't get anything done. There won't be any babies.
Exactly.
You can't make any babies if you don't know which one's the man and which one's the woman, because there's these parts that need to go together to make the baby.
Yep.
And the more love that you can have in the process, I think, of making babies, the better your baby.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely, right? Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Well, wow. That was probably the most amazing and interesting story that we have had on the show yet.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm glad I could share with you guys. And honestly, like, I didn't even think we were going to speak about this, but I think people need to hear this more and more. And I've talked about it on my channel, and, you know, Ren obviously made a whole deal about it, and then their followers came after me saying I went through that, you know, gay conversion therapy or whatever, the camps, you know. And I was like, I didn't even speak about that in my video. Like, I clearly said I figured it out on my own.
With the help of God.
Yeah, exactly. I said, you know, I was reading the Bible, and basically I told the story that I told you guys. But again, you know, because she said that she didn't even say that I went to those sort of camps. She just said, you know, this is the kind of person who believes in those camps. And I obviously never said that, but her crazy followers thought that was a thing. And anyways, they just flooded my video and my Twitter, and I was like, what the heck is happening?
So Ren, the not famous, Ren, the career-ending blue whale from Hypocrisy Island, she attacked you.
Yep.
She attacked you for what? For coming to your senses, from making your own choice about being a woman.
Yeah, and apparently that, you know, was not the right thing to do.
That it wasn't the right thing for you to do, to be a genetically beautiful and intelligent woman.
Yeah, obviously she wanted me to, you know, say that, you know, people are born gay and that you can't change who you are, and that you can't figure out that you made a mistake because, you know, obviously gay people never make mistakes.
Well, they want an excuse. They don't want the struggle. They want an excuse to stay the way they are.
Yeah, and the thing is, they don't like hearing those stories because it doesn't fit their narrative, you know. it doesn't fit the narrative that some people can change, and that you're not born that way. Because if I exist, if my story is real, then people are not born gay, and there's no such thing as a gay gene, and they don't like
Well,
that.
your story is definitely real. There's
Mhm.
no doubt about that in my mind.
Yeah.
And so is your courage. Your courage to come out and to speak so freely and intelligently about this process is going to help a lot of people, you know. And the fact that Ren, in all her cruelty and her endless madness, would lash out against such a wonderful person as yourself, you know, merely because you had the courage to speak your mind and to save your own life.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing that these individuals, these SJWs, they can't stand it when someone breaks free.
Yeah, yeah. Because they don't want to do that work, and like in a sense, you know, it is jealousy.
Oh, yes, that's very true. They're very jealous of you. That's very true. Well, we'll have to end this story with one last point: the Comicsgate component of the entire situation.
Mm-hmm.
So you were minding your own business and you were looking around, you go, I want to get a comic. What did you see?
I saw I didn't see superhero stories, you know. That's to me what was really missing. It didn't feel like superhero story. It just felt like an everyday life type of thing. And I was like, wow, this is really boring. Like, what the heck? You know, because I remember as a kid, you know, I love hearing about, you know, superheroes doing super things, not just like talking in a restaurant over coffee.
The iconic, the mythological. You wanted the real heroes, not just these facades they have today in comics.
Yeah.
So what was the first CG interaction that you had? Was it, you know, our boy Zach or Ethan, or how did you find out about CG?
It was through Captain Cummings, actually.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was on his videos and he was talking, I forget the video. Oh yeah, he was talking about a woman who was talking about comics, but obviously she was one, you know, at SJW, who was saying that, I think what she said that is that superheroes were always social justice warriors. But then, like, he was kind of bashing that woman, and I was like, oh my god, why are you bashing that woman? You know,
Right.
SJW speak. And then he talked to me, and I was like, he kind of showed me how hypocritical I was, and I realized it in that moment. I was like, you know what? Feminism is hypocritical.
Wow.
And then I kind of watched more of his videos, and I fell upon Zach, and that's when I realized that, you know, that's when I saw what was happening in comics. And I was like, oh, that's why they suck. Oh, that makes sense.
So did that help you in your transformation and returning back to your femininity and the joy in your life?
Yeah, it kind of made me realize that there are people out there, not just me, that do believe that, you know, feminine women have a place, not a place, but like they're important. And that it's okay to be feminine and to be weak.
Because it's not really truly weakness. I mean, it's, you know, a woman is supportive, she's compassionate, you know, she has a strength and a virtue that many times men can't create, because a woman usually has such a grace, right? And a way of doing things that's completely different than a male douchebag.
Mm-hmm. It is.
You know, I mean, a woman can create the sympathy and the understanding and the sacrifice that a man can't do. I mean, we all have these types of things that we bring together in relationships that are so important, especially when you have a family.
Yeah, that's true.
I think. So what you're saying is that Comicsgate helped save you from the SJW gender fluid insanity.
Yep, definitely. God started it, and then Comicsgate red pilled me.
Comicsgate sealed the deal.
Yeah.
Delivered the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, Comicsgate has pulled another wonderful person out of the arms of the hideous SJW machine, the hate machine, The diabolical madness and crippling confusion of the liberal, I don't know what they're doing, and I don't think they know either.
Nope.
Well, Stephanie, I want to thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for coming on here and being so brave and sharing with us your story of evolution, discovery, and freedom.
Well, thank you guys for having me. It was really awesome to talk about this stuff, honestly. It's nice to, you know, say it to someone that's not, you know, in my family.
Oh, yeah, that's very true. Well, you should know you can contact me anytime.
I will.
Day or night.
I have to say that I was really touched by, because you were talking about your parents, and I just wanted to bring this up because I was really touched by this moment. At Christmas, you drew both of them as superheroes and presented it to them, right?
Yep.
And I saw that picture of them look like sitting on the the precipice of a fireplace, and both just with tears in their eyes staring at these framed pictures, and I thought that was just absolutely beautiful.
Oh yeah, they really loved it. And like, to make matters worse, well, not worse, but like better, I guess, I wrote a message behind the picture, you know, like telling them how like important they were to me. And then my dad would look at me and was like, "Why are you making me cry?" It was just awesome.
It looked beautiful. I just that really, like, you know, I was surfing through everybody's stuff, you know what I mean, and I saw that and I was like, wow, this is just a gorgeous moment. They're going to remember that. You are too, forever.
Yeah.
Well, we're all going to. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it came to me too as I was reading my Bible. And it's kind of weird because I was reading something about like material goods, and God was like, you know, instead of buying your parents something, why don't you just draw them something? And I was like, that's the best idea ever.
Well, on that note, wow. We're going to have to say goodbye again. That was one of the most amazing moments in CG history. CG has saved yet another life. I'd like to thank our boy Zach, Ethan Van Skyver, and all the other CGers that have made it possible for our new friend, Psychological Nerd, to be free from the SJW curse. Thank you very much for coming, Psychological Nerd.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was really amazing talking with all of you.
And to everyone else, check out Indicron. And don't forget, I am the master of Indicron. And if you don't do what I say, you better run. Bye, everyone.